So I'm back at the bus here on a weekday evening. Last weekend I floated a river with some friends and camped. Didn't get any bus work done. So gonna start by finishing the carpet that I put the primer down for back here on the floor. After that, I'm going to be painting underneath these platforms. I'm probably also going to be drilling holes to the outside with some butyl tape right in here for the hot and cold outdoor shower connectors. So there's a quick connect, sort of a quick connect that I've got, one for each cold and the hot water. The hot water will be preset to the temperature there, but the cold's more for if I just want to wash, wash the bus, or if it's a hot day and I want to use cool water. So we can plug into either or, but I'll have the temperature set for warm water in here on this unit. So just going to go right below the unit and out. So I've got to figure out kind of where along this wall I want it to go. It's also going to feed water into the outdoor kitchen when it's being used with the quick connect hose. And then we'll just disconnect it and tuck that away in the bay. So anyhow, I'll have to figure out how to reference things as far as count the ribs or whatnot when I go back or go outside, to be able to look at the rivet lines and figure out where exactly this is. So I don't want to just punch random holes through the side of the wall. Alright, so I've got these carpet squares down in the back. One box ended up being just enough for the middle and back here. I'm not taking it all the way to the side walls. There's going to be lounging of the couch going out, and cabinets and things being built here. So there'll be storage under there, there'll be storage under here, but there'll be a lounge seat coming off both sides with storage in sort of like a chest. That's what I had envisioned, but it's going to be, sort of a U-shaped couch. Then when we have the bed that comes up and down, I'm thinking I'll have monitors that are hinged up into the bed that come down for, gaming. Two people can play the same game back here. My wife's a big video gamer. I like certain video games. I like playing with her. So anyway, that's it for the carpet. What I'm going to do now is pop open all the hatches, get the vacuum in, suck any dust out, and get some paint up. Right before that, I might drill holes in the side and put in those hot and cold water supplies for the outside. So actually, to locate the spot on the outside, what I'm doing is I'm drilling the pilot hole. It's going to mark the center of this outlet for the vent. I'll just put a piece of tape over it outside or something to keep drips from coming in. But that will tell me exactly where the water heater is, and then directly below that's ideally where I would put those hot and cold outlets for the outside. So we'll see how it lines up. I think we're pretty much right over the edge of the front edge of the bay here. Well, maybe in between the two bays actually, because the wheel is just on the other side of the whirlpool. So I think we're sort of in the middle of the forward bay on that side, just by feel here. So anyway, I'm going to drill through this wood and through the metal just to mark the center hole of the vent, and that'll give me a reference point on the outside. I might even just leave the drill bit poking through. So we're going to use that piece of cutout wood to find the center of what I already cut out. So, and then on the for the process of actually cutting that hole, I'll just use that and trace around it and run the jigsaw. And I left the drill poking through the side of the bus there. So that'll give me the outside reference. This is one of the two spray ports I'm talking about. So I need to measure how big of a hole that needs to be right here to push it into the side of the bus. And that'll tell me which bit to use. I have to see if I have one the right size actually. I may not, but I could probably jigsaw it. So anyhow, that is what I'm up to right now. So I cut out a bit of a cardboard template for this, just for the holes. I'm going to mark inside and then cut a little inside that line with the paint pen. And the problem right now is actually that it's just a little too rainy out there to do this. So I'm going to move on to removing this floor over here and getting paint inside after vacuuming. So anyhow, but I do have a template. I'll be able to do that next time I have decent weather out here. So I popped the hatches out. Now I'm just vacuuming these cavities with the little shop vac. After I got that done, I'll be able to put a coat of paint and primer in one down. And that may not happen tonight. It's already a little bit close to 8 o'clock. Got to get my daughter picked up at about 9 from a band thing. So anyhow, I am going to keep at it as long as I got time here. Alright, so I've been painting some paint and primer in one on the floor here. I'll paint these outside on a nicer day and get them to dry. I'm going to work back here underneath and then come forward with the painting, and then I'll finish up out here. So running out of time though. Not sure if I'll finish this tonight. Might have to tap the lid back on and wrap the paintbrush up and call it good. So we'll see. Got about another 15 minutes. Alright, so the paint that I did yesterday is dry. Got a little bit of time this evening. Over here where the vent to the water heater is, I finally got the right part in. I ordered the wrong one to begin with. For non-condensing, you want one with the metal inside. I accidentally ordered one for condensing that was all plastic. Unfortunately, this one was more expensive. Clearly, this is too long. I'm going to have to trim it down probably to about somewhere in here, about that length. I want it just so that the cover on the outside is up against the bus wall. So I'm going to have to trim this back. When I do, I'm going to have to allow for the fact that there needs to be a little bit of an overlap of the metal part. So what I'll have to do is cut it clean at one angle or at one length while supporting the middle with some foam or something so this doesn't bounce around too much. Cut it clean and then I'll cut back the plastic a little bit more to create this kind of a situation because the way this goes together, it needs to overlap into this metal piece where the gasket is. So anyhow, that ought to be a fun little side project, getting this vent right, but certainly can't do it today. It's way too rainy and getting dark out. So what I'm going to do now is I intend to get these little pieces painted, but first I think I'm going to do some of the plumbing in the floor. Get some Romex crimped and whatnot. So anyhow, I've got my plumbing plan on the wall. I'll have to kind of check things off as I do them. Right here screwed to the wall, I got a copy of my plumbing diagram, and I'll be taking that down to work from and just check things off as I build them. So anyhow, I'm going to get started. Alright, so got the first one just threaded in hand tight. If I did it right, this should just be a little bit beyond this bar when I push it in. And perfect. So that way I'll put a T here, a T at the next one, and then elbows or a T on one end and elbows on the other. We'll figure out what we're doing, but this might even be a four-way on this one if I can find one. But anyhow, I'm going to put all four in, tighten them down, and then I'll be able to crimp the right fittings on, and then I'll measure the cross pipes. We'll be good to go. So that is the plan. I think I want the main line to run right along here. So I will use a different T there. So anyway, pull this back, go find my crescent wrench. Alright, so I actually cut 4 when I only needed 2, but these are going to be vents. I'm going to reduce the 3/4 pecs down to half pecs, and I'll be able to use that soft line and just some clamps to clamp it down, you know, to the half pecs out barb, I guess is what I'm trying to say. This will make it a little more durable under the floor, making it a little more rigid pecs, just the same as the pressurized side. So that's what I'm going to do. Get 2 of these, put them in place as well, and then we'll get the threaded fittings all tightened down. Alright, so I'm getting this outlet and fill section put together. A little nervous about that connection right there. It seems like it might have cross-threaded on me. Got lots of tape on it. To watch it for leaks. It's going to be kind of a pain in the butt if it is leaking. Might have to suck all the water out of the tank and retap that plastic thread or something. Get some kind of adhesive. You know, I'll have to look into it. I know these tanks are made of HDPE. I'm sure there's a plastic weld product that I can smear in there and then retap it if I need to. But it's pretty annoying when a brand new tank wants to cross thread on you. So hopefully I don't have a problem. I kind of backed off the pressure and put extra tape on, and hopefully that'll be the way it goes. It'll be fine. But if not, I'm aware that I might have a problem there. Just take it in stride. So anyway, I'm continuing here. I'm going to join these sections. After I push the tanks in, I'll put a piece together. But I'm going to join these two, and then we'll push the tanks in. And it's going to be a little awkward putting the fill in there. I'll have to do a little bit of a monkeying to get in there with my arms in the right angle to screw the 1-inch hose to it. But I'm sure I can figure it out. Probably end up using a ratchet. That'll be the easiest way to do it. But anyhow, I'm going to keep going. So I have the bottom connections on this side, and I got it on that side, and I've got the vent pipe ready to go on the top here. So push the tanks back in. Now I'm going to build some center pipe to connect along here and also there. So I'll probably be snipping it right there, cut a section out to put another T in. I should have probably done that to begin with, but I knew the measurement of the width, so I went with that to start with. But I do want to put a T in and run the main line this way. So anyhow, I'm going to keep going. So there we go. I've got the vent, the white pipe run, and I've got the outlet inlet line all run to the 4 bottom holes, and then you'll see a T right here where I can go this way. So I think I'm going to call it quits there for tonight. It's a lot of crouching. My knees are hurting. I also should mention, I think I'm going to put this gravity fill inlet and vent, I think I'm going to put it right there. I'll have to put some trim wood, but there's going to be sort of a closet already there. It won't be pressurized, so electric won't matter much. So that would be a good spot for it. The only thought I had was the door would swing into it, but I do intend to put a chain on the door at some point to stop it from swinging too far. And also, this will not likely be used while we're going in and out the door. We're going to be moving the bus and pulling over to fill out a water spigot or whatever, so I won't likely have this door open anyway when we're using this, and it locks back up. So I think that'll be a good spot for the gravity fill. I originally was thinking I would put it under the sink, but that's actually going to take up room that could be used by other storage. So I think that's where I'm going to put it, right there within about a foot of the door edge. And then I'll trim this out a little bit better for the closet. So it's sort of an electrical closet there. But anyhow, pleased with my progress with the plumbing for one night. So I'm back at the bus doing more plumbing. This is a shallow well jet pump. I figured this might be good for high volume flow for this tub if we're trying to have a bath while we're off of a hookup, and could even be used to boost city pressure. It might be overkill. Beginning from this morning, Juan actually used this pump. Found out after a while it did fail on him, so this may be a mixed bag, I don't know, but I've already got it, so I'm going to go ahead and install it along with the traditional RV water pump and accumulator here. So I think I'm going to put the jet pump in this deeper area here, along with this filtration system. This is a double filter system, although it might make sense for me to mount that to the wall here. I don't know. I guess as infrequently as I need to change them, it'll be okay down here. So you'll find I change my mind a lot as I'm talking through these videos, because I'm actually sort of formulating or finalizing the plan as I record for you guys watching on the YouTubes. So anyway, you know, I'm going to get this pump completed, put together. I wanted it so that I could just put the PEX right on it. I'll have shut-off valves to bypass it and just use the RV pump. But anyhow, I'm going to keep going. So right now I'm just getting the regular RV tank and its PEX fittings and strainer and accumulator tank here. This is all C-flow stuff. This one here says 3 gallons a minute. So not exactly a super high capacity pump, which is why I thought the bigger one might be good when we're trying to use the tub. So we'll see. This one might be sufficient, but you know, but if we're boondocking and not worried about running out of water, we might want a bath. You use a whirlpool, whatever, and that bigger pump definitely would come in handy in that situation. I think by and large, though, we'll probably be using the RV pump, and hopefully it has enough flow to kick the heating functions of this heater on. This one's supposed to be less sensitive to the flow rate. It's one of the reasons I selected that model. But time will tell. I mean, as we move forward, I'll be able to provide feedback on what worked here, what didn't, what I wasted money on, what was a good investment, etc. So anyhow, I'm just kind of trying to set these systems up, figure out what fittings I'm missing. I may have to rethink my drawing a little bit. I'm having some ideas about where to put the filtration system. I think I want to actually put that after the pumps and city water inlet. I'm going to treat the city water inlet and the pumps as the source regardless, and I want everything to filter through these two filters. So we'll see here if that's the right answer. Of course, I might not want well, I guess as long as I'm filling from city water after this filter, that'll work. But I got to rethink the drawing a little bit. I didn't have it set up that way initially, so that may change some things. Just having thoughts as I progress here, as I warned you I do. So anyhow, I'm going to keep at it here for a little bit longer, maybe cut some cold water pipe from the tanks over, etc. So the next thing I'll do tomorrow, earlier in the day when there's daylight, is install this outside fill from city water. It's going to go right over here, just below here, right in there. And the reason for that is it'll still give me room to put the electrical over this way, the electrical inlet for 110, 240 volt supply, and keep that away from possible water spray from the outside hose. So anyhow, I'm going to get that in, and then this will sort of be the source area for the water, whether it be pumped from the tanks and back or whether it's city water. I think everything's going to hit these dual filters before I fill from city water to the tank, or before it goes to the fixtures, including the hot water tanks and so on. All the water is going to get filtered for sediment and carbon, for chlorine. So, and that doesn't matter if it's coming from the tanks or the city, or to fill the tanks, it'll come through there if we're not gravity filling. If we are gravity filling, you know, we're still going to use this water filter, you know, Taste Pure water filter, if we gravity fill. And this connector is designed to take the stress off the hose, to keep this from getting sort of ruined by stress of the hose pulling down on it in the wrong angle. So anyway, I'll put this in tomorrow. Should be about a, I would say about a 1-inch hole. I think I have the right hole saw for that, to get through the metal. So should be able to drill from the inside and get a center hole going out, and then use another hole saw to go through the metal from the outside in. So, but would like some daylight for that, and just about done for the evening here. So I got a little time at the bus here in the late evening, just cutting the hole for the water inlet in the side of the bus. I guess I'll go back in and dig for my butyl tape after the fact, but I'm going to drill the holes for some stainless fasteners and get the thing put in place. Right now I'm just using this metal cutting hole saw to open up the side of the bus. I've already drilled the pilot hole from the inside so that it was in the right spot. So I'm going to get this drilled, and then I'll keep going with the installation of this part. So I got the hole drilled. I just kind of set that in from outside. It's not really centered, but it's just the right amount to put some PEX on. I'm going to put a piece of PEX on before I screw that in place. And then I'm going to be using this pressure valve with a regulating knob right in here. I'll probably mount it against this piece of plywood. I got to see how I'm going to mount it, maybe with some big band clamps or something. But anyhow, it's going to go there so that I can easily make the adjustment from here. And look at the gauge, but that'll allow us to adjust the incoming water pressure accordingly. What I'm doing right now is I'm cutting out a slot for the gravity fill. I basically create a little template out of paper, and I'm going to drill the corners out with the metal bit so I can jigsaw with the metal blade between the holes in the corners on the outside. And then I'll be able to put this gravity fill unit in place. It's sitting over there on top of the new vanity we just picked up. So anyhow, I'm going to keep going. Okay, so by the light of the trouble light, I'm gonna saw that out with the jigsaw. I've kind of marked with the ballpoint pen between the corners with my template. I'm going to go a slight bit on the outside edge of those lines just to make sure it fits. And I may want to grab it and make sure these rivets aren't going to get in the way when I put it in place. I think it'll be okay, but let me go check it. And there's a hole in the side of my bus. So that'll fit the gravity fill. And I'm thinking I want the hoses kind of angled that way, so we'll make it so that the latch kind of just drops down. So I'll have to find my butyl tape in here and drill some holes, but I think I'm quitting here for the night. I might throw some tape over this or something, a flap of cardboard, just to keep rain from pouring in if it rains tonight. But anyhow, that's it for the evening. Back at the bus here Sunday afternoon. This is the hole I cut out for the gravity fill. Here's the hole I cut out for the city inlet. I'll be putting the power inlet somewhere over here, probably just behind this if it fits the situation. I got to look inside, and I'll be drilling again from the outside, or from the inside out, to locate the hole. So anyhow, I'll probably drill some holes on the other side as well since I've got nice weather. Alright, so I've used the drill to kind of mark where I'm putting the holes through, the pilot holes for the fasteners. I'm using stainless steel panhead screws, and I'm going to use some actually some Sikaflex. I thought I had butyl tape, but I ran out. Sikaflex will be fine. It's nice adhesive caulk. It's waterproof, so we'll just put a perimeter of it around after I drill the holes and actually start the screws. I'll back it back out, then I'll put the Sikaflex around. And of course the paint job, I'll just cover this all up with blue tape and whatnot. So anyhow, I'm going to keep going, get this thing installed. Alright, so I've got these pilot holes drilled. Now I'm going to get the panhead screws out with the impact driver, and I'll get her screwed in. And after that, I'm going to see whether I can fasten the hoses on after with this foam in the way, or whether I need to do that ahead of time. I suspect I need to do it ahead of time. I'll know in a minute here after I fasten this in place and go have a look. Alright, so I've got that roughed in now. I'm going to go inside and see whether I can fasten the hoses before or after. You know, if I need to do it ahead of time or not, so we'll see. So what I'm doing right now is using this pair of pliers in reverse to try to stretch the plastic a little bit. It's a little bit of a tight fit around the end here. I may have to actually increase the size when I go to the tanks to 1 1/4 with a reducer coupling. So we'll see, but hopefully stretching it out like this without having to heat it up will work. We'll figure it out. Alright, so at this point I've got these two things clamped on. I'm going to get this caulked around the edge here with Sikaflex. Then I'll put this back in place and screw it in. And there we go. The Sikaflex this time was black. I thought I ordered beige, but no big deal. So anyway, it's squeezing out of the cracks there, but got this all fastened, and I'll move on to the next thing. So the next thing here is this water inlet. This has a built-in check valve. I'm going to put a ball valve in behind it just in case the check valve isn't very good. We'll find out over time, but anyhow, what I'm going to do is get this mounted in the hole. Then it'll bend to 90 and go right over to a pressure regulator. And there'll be probably a T so I can also drain this this little segment here so it doesn't. This little segment needs to be able to drain so it doesn't burst in freezing weather. So anyway, so I'm going to get this fastened to the outside here. I'll use a drill bit to kind of mark the spots through the fixture. I'm going to get those holes drilled now, and then I'll just put the caulk on and screw the screws in. No big deal. Alright, well that's put in with the stainless screws. Used a little too much Sikaflex. It kind of rubbed on everything. I guess over time it'll wear off, but it is what it is for now. So out here, when I sand for final paint job, pardon me, I got the hiccups here. When I sand for the final paint job, then this kind of residue from the Sikaflex will come off. So anyhow, that's done. Now I'm going to go inside and put an elbow on, and I'll try to mount the pressure regulator. I'm going to put a T with a drop that'll go to a floor drain. I may actually try to put an outside hose bib right here that actually is the tank drain as well, and have valves regulate so that city pressure could also go to that. So anyway, I'm going to have to label my valves really well for this system. It's kind of complicated, but I do have it diagrammed out. So anyway, right now I'm not going to mess with that, but what I'm going to do is get the elbow put on the other side of this, put a T in with a drop of PEX, or at least put the T in. I may not put the PEX going down yet because I don't know the length, but put the pressure regulator in, and kind of proceed to get the pump set up from the tank. This inlet side of the system, so to speak, is just the next step. Alright, so I've just installed the valves on this Renai tank. I have not yet installed the gas line, of course. That'll be a totally separate project for propane. But anyhow, I've got these in place mostly so I can figure out my drop. I'm going to be putting the valves for the outdoor spigots, or it's sort of a quick connect for the outside, one warm, one cold, or one hot, one cold. And I want to figure out their positioning, which is why I'm doing this first. Bouncing around a little, I'm in the process of mounting this pressure regulator. I'm going to have it setting just under here like that. I've got to block into the wall with some wood, and then I'm probably going to zip strip it to that wood. So anyway, it'll feed over this way, and I'll put a piece of wood in here to kind of block the storage area. Eventually I'll foam this in too, but anyhow, the point here is just to keep doing little by little, getting parts of the diagram put together. So this one is pretty heavy. It's just going to need blocked in to keep it supported. This is the water inlet. This is so I can regulate city pressure when I'm plugged into a campsite, or I'm sorry, connected by hose to a campsite or somebody's driveway or whatever. So anyhow, I'm going to keep going. Okay, so I screwed this block of wood under the valve. I've got some holes drilled through it to do some zip strips to hold it in place. So that'll support it nicely. After a couple days away, I'm back at the bus. I'm going to get these holes from the outside widened so I can put these ports in. These will be for outdoor showering and for water supply to the outdoor kitchen. It's just a quick connect, sort of like almost like an air chuck, but it's for water. And I'll have one cold, one hot. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. Been away from the bus for a couple of days here, just doing other stuff. So got a couple hours here this evening to devote to plumbing work. So I actually used the paint pen to mark these outlines, make sure they were even from the outside, measuring from the rub rail so that these are both the same height. And what I'm going to do is use the jigsaw to go inside the yellow circle a little bit. Once I do this first one, I'll just move my power cord over. So anyway, I'm going to get the jigsaw in here. So what I'm doing right now is I've used this paint pen and got the drill bit through the center with this plug of wood, and I'm building the vent here as far as marking out the edges. If I pull this off, then I've got the lines to run the jigsaw, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drill a hole in the perimeter so I can start the blade. So I've got this little hole saw on the end of my drill. I'm going to go around that perimeter and do as many hole saw cuts as close to the outside as possible, and then I'll just use the jigsaw to trim it. So that's the plan here. We'll see how it works. Alright, so I've got the holes drilled, and I'm going to go in with the jigsaw and go around that yellow paint line that you see at the perimeter there. I was going to put the other spray port in, but I can't figure out where I set the second one. This will be the hot one. This will be the cold one. The fasteners are a little too large, so this won't close adequately. It's kind of obnoxious. I should have gone with number 12. A little too late now, but I'll figure something out. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut this vent for the hot water tank, hot water heater, with the jigsaw. So get that opened up. Alright, so my jigsaw was giving me grief. I had to fasten the bit 3 or 4 times. It kept popping off, but I got the hole cut. Now I'm going to fit the vent pipe through there. Hopefully it's a good fit. Alright, so I've got the elbow put into place here. I'm going to fit the long piece from the outside. What I'm going to do is mark right along the edge, and then I'll take some measurements to shorten the length a bit so that it's not jutting out so far. As I mentioned before, I am going to have to pay attention to how the manufacturer decided to make this vent, because the metal piece sticks out a little bit. So I'll have to trim the plastic piece on the straight pipe. But once I've got this done, I'm going to fasten some stainless screws into it to keep it steady from each side. But I think that's how it fits. Looks like it's a good fit all around here. I'm going to go on the outside and put the straight piece in and mark a line where the bus wall is so I can get my measurements. Alright, so you can see this is sticking out way too far, so I've got those markings on it. I'm going to right now pull this off and make sure that I had it pushed in far enough with the marking I just did inside. And from there I'll be able to figure out how long this needs to be and trim this end of it over here that's inside the bus, so that that black part just sticks out with the flange right up against the bus. So that's the plan. What I'm going to do right now is cut that yellow line that I've marked, at least through the plastic, on this chop saw. And then once I've done that, I'll stabilize the interior metal, and I'll be cutting that on this saw here, on the Evolution saw, for about 1 inch of overhang, 3/4 to 1 inch. So anyhow, I'm going to start with the perimeter. I'm just going to rotate it over the blade up against the fence in the dark, which isn't the wisest thing, but I think I'll be alright. Alright, so that actually wasn't plastic, it was aluminum or steel. The blade did go through it. I've got a rough edge there to deal with. I'll have to hit that with the angle grinder to sand it. But at this point I'm going to brace the middle pipe, and I'll cut it with the Evolution saw. Alright, so I have that blocked on the inside to kind of keep it centered in the pipe. I've got a couple lines marked. I think I want to be just to the left of this line right If you can see it, this line right here, I want you just over here to the left of it a little bit. That'll give us the right spacing. So I'm going to run the evolution saw to cut that. It'll cut right through the wood as well there. Alright, so I've got that set up in the evolution saw. Do a quick cut here. Should be good. I'm just going to brace with my hand over on this side right over here. Hold the flashlight in my mouth. This is probably pretty dumb working in the dark, but got to do what you got to do. And there I go. I shortened it and left a little bit of overlap in the center pipe, so we should be good to go here. Probably clean this up before I finally install it. Got some sharp edges there, but I'll hit that with the edge of the angle grinder a little bit, clean it up. But got the length right here to not have this sticking out too much. Back at the bus here, got a little bit of daylight left the next day. Doing a little work here this evening. So I've got the collar on here. I've got it shortened to the right length. On the inside, well, before I push this through, hopefully I can push it through, I've got 3 fasteners in to stabilize it. I'll put one right here when I get it in the bus. I'm going to seal the hole with spray foam up into this collar. That's my plan from the inside, to spray foam it, probably in a couple layers just to keep it from spreading too much at once. That'll be waterproof as well since it's a closed cell foam, but that's the idea, to fill this collar up with spray foam from the inside once I have it positioned, and that'll stabilize the vent as well. So anyhow, I'm going to get going at it. So at this point I've got that put into place, and I'm going to put some spray foam in around it. Alright, there it is. So far I don't see spray foam popping through. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I'd like to be able to pull that back and sort of fill in with a little bit of spray foam and or caulk behind there. But for now we'll let that set up and cure. Hopefully it doesn't puff the flange out. If it does, I'll have to get in there and dig it out. That's a rubber flange, so it's flexible, but hopefully I don't have to remove material by the time that expands. I tried to use the foam that wasn't quite as expanding as some of the other foams I've used. So anyway, there's the exhaust and air inlet. Here from the inside, the foam's starting to puff out a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't expand too much more before it cures. I do want it to puff outside the bus a little bit, but hopefully not too extreme. So anyway, I'm going to move on to the next task. Got to figure out what that is. It might be laying pipe down on the floor here. Some PEX pipe, I'm not sure. If not that, I'll try to locate that. Somehow I misplaced the other inlet port. If I can find that, I'd like to get it installed, but anyhow, I'm going to keep going one way or the other. So I got these spray ports installed. I am utterly disgusted with the cheap quality of these things. These little caps were a flush fit with a very specialized fastener, and then they have these tiny little tabs on them that broke so easily. These things are a joke. So I'm probably going to find new ones. Got these off Amazon. They're total trash. So anyhow, I'll probably consider doing an actual outdoor shower setup. I don't know. Or maybe I'll build a box around these. It's really just an aesthetic issue so far, but it's frustrating. So anyway, we'll see what happens with this setup, but not happy. Okay, I'm back at the bus. Got a couple hours to kill here, so I'll be working this weekend. This is a Friday evening. Just trying to dry fit the fittings for these outdoor ports. What I'm doing right here is trying to figure out how to get this connected, and then I got to figure out if I can go over this and put the valve in between here for this supply. We'll keep dry fitting it, cutting pieces, and then we'll get the crimp connections made. So I've got these pretty much ready to complete. I just need to find some 1/2-inch PEX elbows. I'm sure I have some at home somewhere, but forgot to grab them. My brother might have some laying around. We'll figure that out. So anyhow, I'm going to keep at it. So I have this all ready to go, except for the 1/2-inch elbows that I do not possess. My brother doesn't have any, apparently. So anyhow, I'll have to hit Lowe's and get some of those sometime early tomorrow, along with, I'm sure, other stuff I'm going to run into. So the thing about plumbing is you just got to expect you're going to make a bunch of trips for fittings. It's hard to really plan out exactly what you need. You can lay out the diagram as I have, but when you got to put it into practical, implementation in a space, things don't work out according to the diagram. So what I'm doing right now, jumping around a bit here, I'm going to put this wood around the perimeter of where the water pumps are going to go. And it's going to be sort of like a drip tray after I caulk the corners. And then I'm going to spray it with some of that rubberized coating like I did under the hot tub or whirlpool. And then over here I'm going to have a drain going straight down. It'll have a little gap, an air gap for draining the water out of the drip pan. But it will also be where that drain for the water tanks chases down through. So I'll probably use some 1.5-inch drain pipe to sleeve it. And then what we'll do is spray the sealing spray paint around that. Then we'll just run the PEX down through it. And then maybe tap a little spray foam in there and poke through it for a drain hole. So anyway, the idea is I want the pump area to be able to drain without ruining the wood in the bus, because it's likely at some point a fitting's going to spring a leak or start dripping, etc. It's just going to happen at some point. So anyhow, that's the plan. I'm going to cut these pieces accordingly, caulk the edges after screwing them down, and then we'll hit it with that spray paint. It's the Flex, sort of like knockoff Flex Seal brand. So what I've done here is built a perimeter with these 1.5 by 1.5 pieces. So at this point I'm going to caulk the edges a little bit, and then I'll spray it with that rubberized black Flex Seal spray. So anyhow, after that I got to figure out where underneath the floor pans are, and make sure that when I screw down through or drill down through that I've got a good spot in between the supports. That'll have to happen from underneath, which means in the near future I need to get under the bus, possibly jack it up, most likely jack it up to get where I need to be. So that'll be fun. But anyhow, that's the plan. I'm going to get the Flex Seal paint on here sprayed down to dry after caulking. So I've got the caulk here on the drip edge, or the wooden tray here. Now it's time to spray it down with the rubber seal. And then when I screw the pumps to the floor, I'll put some sealant under their edges or over the screws, whatnot. But it should actually seal with the rubberized coating fairly decently. So just trying to avoid water damage and mold if we have a drip. There we go. I've sprayed the rubber Flex leak stopper stuff nice and thick, and we'll put a hole over here for it to drain out if it drips water in here. And that's also where like I said, where the drain for the tanks will go, and where the garden spigot will go. So I'll probably use a 1.5-inch pipe and put a couple hoses down through, and then from there that'll have a little bit of a gap for the water to flow out of this pan. So I've got the 1/2-inch PEX elbows. I'm going to start over here, get this one done. For this one here, I'm actually going to get my tin snips and chop that clamp right here and lengthen this one too, lengthen this piece so that this is more in line. I don't want it bending as much, so I'll have to redo that little segment. But I'm going to keep at it here. So I got the elbows placed. I lengthened this segment a little bit. Now I'm dropping the cold water. This will be the inlet to the tank, but it's also going to supply cold water over to the washer dryer. It'll drop down and come over here, supply cold water up to that wall, all the way up into the sink over here. So we've got that stubbed, and what I'll do is I'll have the hot water just a little bit higher. It's also going to supply similarly the washer dryer and going over to the sink, and it'll have a stem going here. It'll hit the shower area where the fixtures are going to be, and then it'll have a supply going over toward the back. There'll be a little hand washing sink in the back for the second lavatory. So anyhow, I'm going to keep roughing this plumbing in here. So I've got this cold water line running down. It goes elbows over and sort of runs under here. I'll get this clamped into place. But right in here, it's going to tee up. It's going to feed the cold water on the valve for the tub, and then it's going to go over, continue underneath here and go over to the filter. And it'll have a stem from the filter going over that way. And then we'll actually feed the kitchen by coming over this way, laundry tub, come down, and it'll go under the floor here and come up and go over. So lots of 90-degree bends to kind of tuck the pipe in as we go.